What's up? Welcome back to another one of my videos. Kevin from California coming at you live from the studio. Alright guys, I know it's been a little while, a couple weeks, maybe 3 weeks. Yeah. So forgive me for being MIA for so long. I missed you. Did you miss me? I know you did. Shush. Shh. You don't have to say anything. Alrighty, so continuing on with The Secret Circle. We're on chapter 5. This is episode 4. I want to start. Alright, I'll admit, guys, I already finished the book. It's not that bad. Anyways, I already finished the book, but I want to start churning. So I want to start getting these videos out more frequently. Because at this rate, there's how many chapters? Hold on. There's 23 chapters, and we're on chapter 5. So we need to pick up the pace. We need to start reading a little faster or more frequently. And alright, in last episode, what happened to Cassie? So Cassie was just moved into her grandma's house in New Salem, and she absolutely hated it. She was just being very moody about it. But then she ends up talking to her grandma and getting closer to her grandma. And then she had this weird dream. The dream about the sacrifice, her being a sacrifice, I think. And then now she's starting school. So chapter 5, let's go. The gray cashmere sweater or the blue and white Fair Isle cardigan? That was the question. Cassie stood in front of the gilt-framed mirror, holding the first one and then the other one in front of her. The blue cardigan, she decided. Blue was her favorite color, and it brought out the blue of her eyes. The plump cherubs on top of the old-fashioned looking glass seemed to agree, smiling at her approvingly. Now that the first day of school had actually come, Cassie found that she was excited. Of course, she was nervous too, but it wasn't the stark and hopeless dread she'd expected to feel. There was something interesting about beginning school in a new place. It was like starting her life over. Maybe she'd adopt a whole new personality. Back home, her friends would probably describe her as nice but shy, fun but kind of quiet. But no one here knew that. Maybe this year she'd be Cassie the extrovert, or even Cassie the party girl. Maybe she'd even be good enough for the girl with the shining hair. Cassie's heart beat more quickly at the thought. It all depended on first impressions. It was vital she get off to a good start. Cassie pulled on the blue sweater and anxiously checked her reflection again in the mirror. She wished there was something more to do with her own hair. It was soft and it waved slightly with pretty highlights, but she wished she could do something more dramatic with it. Like the girl in this ad. She glanced at the magazine open on the dressing table. She bought it especially when she'd driven into town last week so she could see the back-to-school fashions. She'd never gotten the courage to walk up the yellow Victorian house again, although she cruised by it slowly in her grandmother's Volkswagen Rabbit, hoping vainly to bump into the girl accidentally. Right, so Cassie also saw this girl that was really beautiful, and she's hoping she runs into her, so... Yes, tomorrow she'd pull back her hair like the model in the ad, she decided. Just as she was about to step away, something on the opposite page of the magazine caught her eye. A horoscope column. Her birth sign, Cancer, seemed to be staring out at her. Automatically, her eyes followed the words after it. That daggy, insecure feeling has got you again. It's time for positive thinking. If that doesn't work, remember that nothing lasts forever. Try not to make waves in your personal relationships this month. You've got enough to cope with already. Horoscopes are such garbage, Cassie thought, closing the magazine with a slap. Her mother had always said so, and it was true. That daggy, insecure feeling, just telling someone they felt insecure was enough to make them feel it. There was nothing supernatural about that. But if she didn't believe in the supernatural, what was that Chalcedony lucky piece doing in the zipper compartment of her backpack? Setting her jaw, she took it out and put it in her jewelry box, then went downstairs to say goodbye. The school was an impressive 3-story red brick building, so impressive that after Cassie had parked the rabbit, she was almost afraid to go any closer. There were several narrow paths that led up the hill, and she finally nerved herself to take one. At the top of at the top her throat closed and simply stared. God, it looks like a college or something, like a historical landmark. The bold stone facing on the front read New Salem High School, and below was a sort of crest with the words Town of New Salem, Incorporated, 1693. Was that how old this town was? 300 years? Back in Reseda, the oldest buildings around had been there for maybe 50 years. I am not shy, Cassie told herself, forcing herself to walk forward. I am Cassie, the confident. An incredibly loud roar made her head jerk around, and sheer instinct sent her jumping to the side just in time to be run over. Heart pounding, she stood and gawked at what had almost hit her. It was a motorcycle on the bike path, but even more astonishing was its rider, a girl. She was wearing tight black jeans and a motorcycle jacket, and her trim, athletic body looked tough. But when she turned around after parking the motorcycle by a bike rack, Cassie saw that her face was ravishingly pretty. It was small and feminine, framed by tumbling dark curls, and marred only by a sullen, belligerent expression. "What are you staring at?" the girl demanded suddenly. Cassie started. She supposed she had been staring. The girl took a step forward, and Cassie found herself stepping back. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to." She tried to tear her eyes away, but it was hard. Man, don't you guys hate when you have to sneeze but it doesn't come out? Ugh. Man. Alright. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. She tried to tear her eyes away, but it was hard. The girl was wearing a skimpy black midriff top under the jacket, and Cassie glimpsed what looked like a small tattoo just above the material. A tattoo of a crescent moon. I'm sorry, Cassie said again helplessly. You better be. You keep out of my face, get it? You were the one who almost ran me over, Cassie thought. But she nodded hastily, and to her vast relief, the girl turned away. God, what a horrible way to start the first day of school, Cassie thought, hurrying toward the entrance. What a horrible person to be the first one you spoke to. Well, at least after a beginning like that, things could only get better. All around her, teenagers were greeting one another, shouting hello, the girls giggling and hugging, the boys horsing around. It was an excited bustle, and everybody seemed to know everybody else. Except Cassie. She stood looking at the fresh haircuts of the guys, the brand new clothes of the girls, smelling the scents of too much perfume and unnecessary aftershave, and feeling more alone than she ever had in her life. Keep moving, she told herself sternly. Don't stand around looking for that girl. Find your first class. Maybe you'll see somebody there who's alone, and you can talk to them. You got to look extroverted if you want people to think you are. Her first class was writing for publication, an English elective, and Cassie was glad she had it. She liked creative writing, and the program of studies had said that the class would offer opportunities for publication in the school literary magazine and newspaper. She'd worked on the newspaper in her old school. Maybe she could hear too. Of course, the program also said you had to sign up for writing for publication the previous spring, and Cassie still couldn't quite understand how her grandmother had gotten her enrolled just before school started. Maybe her grandmother had special pull with the administration or something. She found the class without much trouble and took an inconspicuous desk near the desk. The room was filling up, and everyone seemed to have someone to talk to. Nobody took the slightest notice of Cassie. She began doodling ferociously on the front of her notebook, trying to look totally involved in it, trying to look as if she weren't the only one in class sitting alone. That's so real. Like trying to make yourself look busy in front of like other people. Like when a cute girl will walk by, like or a cute guy or a cute girl, like people will automatically go on their phones or something, as if someone texted them, but they know they didn't. Man, the weather's pretty nice today. Today would have been a nice day to go out. A tad bit windy. My hair keeps getting in my face. You guys know how much that bothers me. Bothers. I think it's so funny when people say words like that. Bothers. Like they don't like when they don't say the th. Bothers. That bothers me. It sounds like so kiddish. Bothers me. Yeah. You're new, aren't you? The boy in front of her had turned around. His smile was genuinely friendly, but it was also dazzling, and she had a feeling he knew exactly how dazzling it was. His hair was auburn and curly, and it was clear that when he stood, he'd be very tall. You're new, he said again. Yes, said Cassie, and was furious to hear her voice shake, but this guy was so good looking. I'm Cassie Blake. I just moved here from California. I'm Jeffrey Lovejoy, he said. Oh, Cassie said, trying to make it as if she'd heard of him before, since this seemed to be what he expected. Center on the basketball team, he said. Also captain. Oh, how great. Oh, how stupid. She had to do better than this. She sounded brainless. I mean, that must be really interesting. Are you interested in basketball? Maybe we could talk about it sometime. Suddenly, Cassie felt very grateful to him. He was ignoring her blundering, her lameness. Okay, so maybe he liked to be admired, but what difference did that make? He was nice, and it would definitely improve her status to be seen around the campus with him. That would be great, she said, wishing she could think of another adjective. Maybe at lunch. A shadow fell over her, or at least that was how it felt. In any case, she was aware, all at once, of a presence at her side, a presence that made her voice trail off blankly as she looked up, wide-eyed. A girl was standing there, the most striking girl Cassie had ever seen, a big, beautiful girl, both tall and voluptuous. She had a mane of pitch black hair, and her pale skin was touched with a glow of confidence and power. Hello, Jeffrey, she said. Her voice was low for a girl, as vibrant and almost husky. Faye. Jeffrey's voice, by contrast, was noticeably unenthusiastic. He looked tense. Hi. The girl leaned over him, one hand on the back of his chair, and Cassie thought the scent of some heady perfume. I didn't see much of you over summer vacation, she said. Where have you been? Around, Jeffrey said lightly, but his smile was forced and his entire body was taut now. You shouldn't keep yourself hidden away like that, naughty boy. Faye leaned in closer yet. She was wearing an off-the-shoulder top, completely off both shoulders. It left a great deal of skin exposed, just at Jeffrey's eye level. But it was her face that Cassie couldn't help staring at. She had a sensuous, sulky mouth and extraordinary honey-colored eyes. They seemed to almost glow with a strange golden light. You know, there's a new horror movie at the Capri this week, she said. I like horror movies, Jeffrey. I could take them or leave them myself, Jeffrey said. Faye chuckled, a rich, disturbing sound. Maybe you just haven't seen them with the right girl, she murmured. Under the proper circumstances, I think they can be very stimulating. Cassie felt embarrassed blood rise to her cheeks, though she scarcely knew why. Jeffrey wet his lips, looking fascinated in spite himself, but also scared, like a rabbit in a trap. I was gonna take Sally down to Gloucester this weekend, he began, voice strained. Well, you'll just have to tell Sally that something came up, Faye said, raking him with her eyes. You can come get me Saturday night at 7. Faye, Oh, and don't be late, alright? I hate it when boys are late. All this time, the black-haired girl had not even glanced at Cassie, but now she straightened up to leave. She did. The look she turned on Cassie was sly and secretive, as if she were perfectly aware that Cassie had been listening, and she liked it. Then she turned back to Jeffrey. Oh, and by the way, she said, lifting one hand in a languid gesture that showed off her long red nails. She's from Crowhaven Road, too. Jeffrey's jaw dropped. He stared at Cassie a moment with an expression of shock and distaste, and then he quickly turned around to face the front of the room. Faye was chuckling as she walked away to take a seat at the very back. What is going on? Cassie thought wildly. What difference did it make where she lived? The only thing she could see now of Jeffrey of the dazzling smile was his rigid back. She had no time to think of anything more. Because the teacher was talking, he was a mild-looking man with a graying beard and glasses. He introduced himself as Mr. Humphreys. And since you've all had a chance to talk during your summer vacation, now I'll give you a chance to write. He said, I want each of you to write a poem, right now, spontaneously. We'll read some of them aloud afterward. The poem can be about anything, but if you have trouble thinking of a subject, write about your dreams. There were groans from the class, which gradually died into silence and pen chewing, but Cassie bent over her notebook, with her heartbeat beating rapidly. A vague memory of her dream of last week intruded, the one where her mother and grandmother had stood over her. But she didn't want to write about that. She wanted to write about him. After a few minutes, she scribbled down a line. When Mr. Humphreys announced that time was up, she had a poem. And reading it over, she felt a thin chill of excitement. It was good, or at least she thought so. What if the teacher called on her to read it out loud? She didn't want him to, of course, but what if he made her? And what if somebody else in class thought it was good and wanted to talk to her afterward? Maybe they'd ask about the guy in the poem, and then she could tell about the mysterious and romantic story about him. That's so real. I'm always itching to tell people my romance stories of the past. I always find any excuse to be like, oh, you wanna hear a love story? And then boom, I just go off. What can I say? I'm just a hopeless romantic. Pray for me. Maybe the girl in the Victorian house would hear her. Mr. Humphreys was calling for volunteers. Predictably, no hands were raised, until one went up in the back. The teacher hesitated. Cassie turned to see that the raised hand had long red nails. Faye Chamberlain, Mr. Humphreys said at last. He sat on the edge of his desk as the tall, striking girl came to stand beside him. But Cassie had the oddest feeling that he would have moved away if he could. An almost palpable air of tension had filled the room, and all eyes were on Faye. She tossed her glorious mane of black hair back and shrugged, causing her off-the-shoulder top to slip down a little lower. Tilting her head back, she smiled slowly at the class and held up a piece of paper. This is my poem, she said in her lazy, husky voice. It's about fire. Shocked, Cassie looked down at the poem of her own desk. Then Faye's voice caught her attention. I dream about fire, tongues of flame licking me. My hair burns like a torch, my body burns for you. Touch my skin and your fingers will stick. You'll blacken like a cinder, but you'll die smiling. Then you'll be part of the fire too. As the entire class watched, riveted, Faye produced a match, and somehow Cassie didn't quite see how managed to light it. She touched it to the paper, and the paper caught fire. Then, walking slowly, she moved to stand directly in front of Jeffrey Lovejoy, waving the burning paper gently before his eyes. Howls, whistles, and desk banging from the audience. Many of them looked scared, but most of the guys looked excited too. Some of the girls looked as if they wished to dare to do something like that. Voices called out, "See, Jeffrey, that's what you get for being so cute. Go for it, man. Watch out, Jeff. Sally's gonna hear about this." Jeffrey just sat there, the back of his neck slowly flushing dull red. As the paper was about to burn her fingers, Faye sashayed away from Jeffrey again and dropped it in the metal wastebasket by the teacher's desk. Mr. Humphreys didn't flinch when something in the wastebasket flared up, and Cassie admired him for that. Thank you, Faye, he said evenly. Class, I think we can call what we've just seen an example of concrete poetry. Tomorrow we'll study some traditional methods. Class dismissed. Faye walked out the door. There was an instant pause. Then, as if everyone had been released by a spring, a sudden mass exodus. Jeffrey grabbed his notebook and was gone. Cassie looked at her own poem, Fire. She and Faye had written about the same thing. Suddenly, she tore the sheet out and, crumpling it into a ball, thrust it into her backpack. So much for her dreams of being romantic and mysterious. With a girl like that around, who was ever going to notice Cassie? Yet they all seemed almost afraid of her, she thought. Even the teacher. Why didn't he give her a detention or something? Or is lighting fires in the trash can normal in New Salem? This would not happen, guys. Like, come on. Like, where in schools are girls just going up and being like, psh, putting poems on fire and whatever? It's a book. That's so funny. I always like to think of that. Like, come on, like, this is not real. I guess if it were real, it would be like pretty boring. Because real life is pretty like... Although real life can be like romantic, I think we romanticize it more than it actually is, you know? Like, you'll be at the subway or something and you'll catch a glance with a girl and then that's it. And then you guys will never talk again, but then that moment will feel so like special. Like as if like there's so much tension between that. I don't know, does that make sense? I feel like we romanticize way much more than it actually is. And I like that. I fuck with that. Alright. And why did Jeffrey let her hit on him that way? And why did he care where I live, for God's sake? In the hall, she nerved herself to stop someone and ask where room C310 was. It's on the 3rd floor, the girl said. All the math classes are. Go up that stairway. Yo, look out! Heads up, everybody! A shouting voice interrupted. Something was whizzing down the hall, scattering students right and left from its path. 2 somethings. Dumbfounded, Cassie saw that it was 2 guys on rollerblades, laughing and bellowing as they tore through the crowd. Cassie had a glimpse of disheveled shoulder-length blonde hair and almond-shaped, slightly tilted blue-green eyes as one passed. Then she saw it all again. As the second one streaked by, the boys were identical, except that one was wearing a Megadeth t-shirt and the other's was Motley Crue. They were creating chaos as they went, knocking books out of people's arms, grabbing at girls' clothes. As they reached the end of the hallway, one of them caught a pretty redhead's miniskirt and deftly flipped it up to the waist level. The girl shrieked and dropped her backpack to push it down. There was like a little bee that just came by right now. Why doesn't somebody do something? Cassie blurted out. Was everybody in this school crazy? Why doesn't somebody stop them or report them or something? Are you kidding? Those are the Henderson brothers, the girl said. She walked away, joining another girl. Cassie heard a fragment of a sentence float back. Doesn't even know about the club. And both girls glanced back at her and then walked on. What club? The girl had said it as if it had capital letters. What did a club have to do with breaking school rules? What kind of place was this? Another bell rang, and Cassie realized that she was now late for class. She slung her backpack over her shoulder and ran for the stairs. By lunchtime, she still hadn't exchanged more than a hi or hello with anyone, no matter how hard she tried. As she hadn't seen the girl with the shining hair anywhere. Not that she was really that surprising, considering the floors and corridors of the school. In her present state of insecurity, Cassie wouldn't have dared to approach the girl if she had seen her. A leaden, miserable feeling had settled in her stomach, and one glance at the glass wall of the cafeteria teeming with laughing students made her knees go weak. How much time do we have on the clock? 24 minutes? 24 minutes in? How many pages do we got left? Oh, cool. 1, 2, 3. 3 more pages. All right, sweet. This is a short chapter. I think I'm definitely gonna record another chapter out here, but I'll do it in another video so that way they're in episodes. Yeah, guys, I already finished this book. Now I was looking at where to get the second part of this book, the second and the last part. I can find one in Central Library, which is I think like a big library in LA. So yeah, that's something to look forward to. Oh, let me keep going. Let me keep going. We're not done yet. We're not done yet. Okay, okay. And one glance at the glass-walled cafeteria teeming with laughing students made her knees go weak. She couldn't face it. She just didn't have the nerve. Arms wrapped around herself, she walked away and kept walking. She walked right through the main entrance and out the door. She didn't know where she was going. Maybe she was going home. But then she saw the lush green grass of the hill. No, she decided, I'll just eat here. Partway down the hill, there were several craggy outcrops of natural rock, and she found she could sit comfortably in a little hollow below one, shaded by a tree. She was shielded by the rock from the school. It was almost as if the school didn't exist. She could look down a flight of meandering steps to the bottom of the hill and the road beyond, but no one from above could see her. As she sat looking at the dandelions dotting the grass, the tension gradually drained out of her. So what if the morning hadn't been the greatest? Things would be better this afternoon. The clear blue sky seemed to tell her that. And the rock at her back, the famous red granite of New England, gave her a feeling of security. It was strange, but she almost felt she could hear a buzzing in the rock, like a heartbeat tremendously speeded up, a buzzing of life. If I put my cheek to it, I wonder what would happen, she thought with a curious excitement. Voices distracted her. Dismayed, Cassie knelt up to look over the top of the rock and tensed. It was that girl, Faye. There were two other girls with her, and one of them was the biker who nearly run Cassie over that morning. The other was a strawberry blonde with a tiny waist and the most well-developed chest Cassie had ever seen on a teenager. They were laughing and sauntering down the steps, right toward Cassie. I'll just stand up and say hi, Cassie thought. But she didn't. The memory of those disturbing honey-colored eyes was still with her. She kept quiet and hoped they'd pass her by, go all the way down the hill and off the campus. Instead, they stopped on the landing just above Cassie, sitting with their feet on the steps below and pulling out paper lunch bags. They were so close that Cassie could see the red stone blazing at Faye's throat. Although she was in the shadow now, it was as if they wouldn't be able to miss her. She was trapped. Did anybody follow us, Deborah? Faye asked lazily as she rummaged through her backpack. The biker girl snorted. Nobody's stupid enough to try. Good, because this is top secret. I don't want you to know who to hear anything about it, Faye said. She took out a stenographer's notebook with a red cover and laid it on her knee. Now let me see. What shall we do to start this year off? I feel like something really wicked. Alright guys, that's the end of chapter 5. End of episode 4. Should I just keep going in this? Nah. I get too lazy. Like, I need breaks. That's how I am in life, guys. I'm a big break person. Like, I always need something to kind of get my mind off something else. Like, I'm very like ADHD that way. Like, I'll be studying something, or I'll be reading something, and then I'm like, oh, something else catches my interest, and then I'll come back to what I was originally on. Anyways, thank you guys so much for coming back to my channel and watching episode 4. Stay tuned for more. Figure out what's gonna happen to Cassie. Is Cassie going to befriend these intimidating, pretty group of girls? What happens next in Cassie Blake's life? Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.